meeting. We do have Managing Director and members of the administration present as well, so mahalo for being here. And going to in-person registered testimony, we have June Chin. If you want to come up, unmute the microphone, announce your name, and just proceed when you're ready. And then seeing no other registered, anyone else wanting to testify in person can come up towards the podium at this time as well. It's a button on the gray button on the bottom. Perfect.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jun Shin. Testifying today as an individual. I'm a resident of Council District 5. I'll just be quick that I'm in strong support of this resolution because, I think it's bare minimum to say that like our kids deserve to like be able to get good food and to be able to like, if they get good food, they'll be able to learn and they'll be able to, function in the classroom. And so I think that's something that should be like the highest priority of the state. And I also think that this kind of isn't just like about the kids, like it's also like the teachers who are already, taking money out of their own pockets to pay for supplies. Like they're the ones who are also like, probably providing snacks in their classrooms as well. And so that'd be taking something off of the teachers, like, out of pocket costs. And for parents who are like, many who are struggling, this would kind of also take something off of their plate financially as well. And so it's not only just about the kids, although that is like the main thing, but it's also like for the broader community, like this would be like a great benefit if the state passes this policy this year. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Of course, mahalo for your testimony. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none and no one else in person wishing to testify, we'll go to online. With no registered online testifiers, anyone wanting to testify can use the raise hand feature. And I'll just confirm with our clerks, Madam Clerk, do we have anyone online wishing to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Mahalo. So we'll go into discussion before I make my recommendations. Was there any additional discussion from the committee? Seeing none, do want to just mahalo Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for this measure and just agree with the testimony and just acknowledge that having access to food really is a part of the learning experience, and I think will benefit all of our community, and so appreciate this matter. So I'm going to recommend that Resolution 25-2 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Perfect. And then with the committee's indulgence, I was gonna hold agenda item number 2 to have it discussed together with the informational briefing conducted by Board of Water Supply. And so we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 3. This is Bill 19, 2024 FD1 CD1 relating to housing and addressing housing in the city and the city and county of Honolulu, including a resident preference in the city's housing programs by adding a new article to Chapter 1 of the ROH. The bill passed second reading and a public hearing was held on July 10th, 2024. Members, please note that a proposed CD2 submitted by myself, identified as OCS 2025-0007/1/6/2025, timed 1:23 p.m., was posted on the agenda. A summary of the amendments were also posted. I believe we have Director Apuna identified. I don't see her present, but also Executive Director Ajay listed as someone that could comment on this matter. So I'd go ahead and invite you up and welcome any comments from the administration. Mahalo, do you wanted to go ahead and unmute? Perfect.
Is that better?
Once the light comes on, perfect.
Got it, thank you. Hello, our Housing Chair Wire. Kevin O'Jay, Executive Director of the Office of Housing. The Office of Housing of the city stands in support of the bill.
Mahalo.
Thank you.
And I'll defer to the introducing council members if they wanted to add any additional insight. I know this has been a long time coming, and so appreciate the work that went into this conversation.
Thank you, Chair, if I may. Yeah,
This resolution this bill is a fairly simple one. It's patterned after residential preference that was done in Boston that was found to be constitutional. It's a way of creating a preference among many preferences for Oahu residents when it comes to city-involved housing. This would certainly help to make sure that we're prioritizing local residents when it comes to the provision of city-funded and city-involved housing.
Mahalo for that. We'll go ahead and go to testimony. Yeah. In person, we don't have any registered. Anyone wishing to testify can come up to the podium. Seeing none, we'll go to online testimony. Anyone wishing to testify again can use the raise hand feature. I'll just confirm, Madam Clerk, do we have any testifiers online?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, mahalo. We'll go back into the discussion before I make my recommendation, and seeing none, the chair is going to recommend that Bill 19-2024 FD1 CD1 be amended to the posted CD2 identified as OCS 2025-0007. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, the bill is amended to the CD2, and the chair is then going to recommend that Bill 19-2024 FD1 CD2 be reported out for passage on third reading. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. And that brings us to agenda item number 4. This is Bill 63, 2024, relating to accessory dwelling units or ADUs, and amends the provisions relating to ADUs, including but not limited to any incentives to stimulate the creation of such units. The bill was passed first reading on December 11, 2024. I'll open it up if anyone from the administration wanted to comment on that. I see Managing Director coming up.
So, Chair, I apologize. Texted with Director Dawn Takuuni Apucha. She's on her way right now. Apologize for that. She was at another meeting, but she should be here very shortly.
Okay, appreciate that. We can go ahead and go into testimony at this time. And I don't believe we have any in-person registered. Anyone wishing to testify that is in person can make their way up. Seeing none, we'll go online. Anyone wishing to testify can use the raise hand feature on Zoom. I'll just confirm with Madam Clerk, do we have any testifiers online?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, appreciate that. We'll go ahead and open it up for discussion if the committee has any. We'll go ahead and take a vote on it if the committee would like to do so. Also would welcome Chair Waters to the chamber as well. So the chair is going to recommend that Bill 63, 2024 be reported out for passage on second reading and the scheduling of a public hearing. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay, that brings us to agenda item number 5, Bill 64, 2024. This bill relates to down payment loans and ensures expanded eligibility for the city's down payment loan program by amending section 6-34.2 of the revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021. The bill passed first reading on December 11, 2024. I see Deputy Director Los Banos here from Community Services. Would invite you up if you wanted to comment or share anything on your side from the department.
Aloha, Chair Waters. Chair Wire. Edward Los Banos, Deputy Director, Department of Community Services. So DCS supports the Council's initiative and interest to address this growing need and demand for our home buyers. It's such a great way to kind of get folks rooted here on the islands. We do have some concerns about timing. Make sure we can have a ready-to-go program by the time this action is all taken care of, because sometimes if you take action now, it kind of creates this expectation and demand that we can kind of get there sooner. It will take us some time to put together a comprehensive program and that the folks can use. It does require us to create Hawaii admin rules. And, we are going to start working on this. We started this from the time the bill was introduced. We reached out to HHFTC. We have a meeting with them to figure out what their relaunch of their Hula May and down payment loan programs look like. I mean, if they didn't start that, take initiative to relaunch that last fall, this would be a no-brainer to kind of get this thing moving. But knowing that there's another product out there, I want to make sure we kind of coordinate with them to see what's out there, and we can create a relevant loan program. We also want to work with the banking industry to make sure that the programs that we have available will work with how they're underwriting these mortgage loans going forward, and then with the Board of Realtors to give access to their clientele. So support the initiative. I think there's a lot more work we got to get done, and we want to make sure we can meet the demand as it arises.
Okay. Mahalo, Deputy Director, for that. Go to Vice Chair Cordero.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Director Los Baños. I do want to thank you, and as well as the Budget and Fiscal Services Director for meeting with myself and my co-introducer, the committee chair. I do look forward to all of our discussions moving forward. And just for the committee's indulgence, are you okay, Deputy Director, if we do take action on this? I'll ask for the committee chair to take action on it next meeting.
I would like to have more conversations, because I think our worry at DCS is that we have this expectation of a program, and it could be kind of months away from us trying to launch it. I'll give you an example. HHFTC took action on this last, I think, August or September, and their programs aren't live yet. I want to make sure that we can be responsive once this. I think there's going to be high demand for this program, to be honest, and I want to be able to be respectful of that and meet them where they're at.
Yeah, certainly. I was just asking if you're okay that I asked the committee chair to hold off and not take action on it this committee. I guess is the better way to phrase it.
I'd be supportive of that as it will allow DCS to do more fact-finding and meet with more folks. I think when the bill was introduced, we kind of ran into the holidays, and it was hard to kind of schedule those meetings and have those discussions. We need to have a good plan to move forward on.
Certainly. And thank you very much for constantly speaking with both myself and the co-introducer. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Just want to echo those thanks, Deputy Director, and look forward to the conversations with the state program, HHFTC. My understanding is, and I could be wrong, so correct me, that I don't think they've actually promulgated the rules or admin rules yet, or do you know if they have?
We have a more in-depth meeting with them next week, but my understanding is that they had a program in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. They had this program available. For whatever reason, they stopped the program, and they're going to restart it again. But my understanding, there's certain updates to their admin rules that they want to make prior to launch. Okay,
appreciate that. Definitely look forward to those conversations, because I think anywhere we can find opportunities to fill gaps and complement other programs, the better. As we've talked about in committee and at council, we see that gap with access to down payment assistance, not because of anything DCS is doing wrong, but just because of the income restriction that HUD places on it, and then where our market is and how high our home values are. And so definitely, like Councilmember Cordero mentioned, appreciate the collaboration. Seeing no other questions from committee, we'll go to testimony in person. We have Stephanie Nojima from the Honolulu Board of Realtors.
Aloha, my name is Stephanie Nojima with the Honolulu Board of Realtors. Aloha, Chair Wire and Vice Chair Cordero and members of the committee. Happy New Year. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify on Bill 64, which addresses a critical challenge for our community, which is the down payment assistance. This bill is an important step towards creating equitable opportunities and addressing the affordable housing crisis. By investing in our residents, we've strengthened the fabric of our community, and we ensure that more families can achieve the dream of home ownership. Mahalo for your leadership and for continuing to prioritize solutions that benefit our people. We look forward to working with you and discussing this further, as well as with DCS, whom I always seem to be across the way from. So I enjoy the conversations that we have, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, mahalo again for your testimony. Anyone else in person wishing to testify that's unregistered can come up to the podium. And again, anyone online can use the raise hand feature. See no one in person, will go to online testimony. And just to confirm with Madam Clerk, do we have any online testifiers on this item?
Chair, there are none.
Mahalo. So with that, we'll go ahead and go into discussion. Was there any discussion from the committee or members here today? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and recommend postponement, as Vice Chair mentioned. So Chair is going to recommend that action on Bill 64, 2024 be postponed, and we'll say to a date and time to be determined by the committee chair. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Mahalo. So we'll go ahead and turn now to the informational briefing that we had on agenda. Members, the last item on our agenda today was the Board of Water Supply landfill siting. As noted earlier, we'll go ahead and hear the resolution immediately after that. On your desk, you should have two documents from the Board of Water Supply. One is a response from BWS to the Department of Environmental Services regarding the Mayor's December 10, 2024 press conference announcing the selection of area northwest of Waihoa as the city's proposed new landfill site, and the other is BWS's presentation on Oahu's groundwater aquifer and siting of a new landfill. For your information, both documents are available online as Departmental Communications 17 and 18. I'll go ahead and turn it over to the Board of Water Supply. Mahalo. And we can get some assistance over there if you're good to go or need some with PowerPoint.
Thank you, and I just want to thank you, Chair, and compliment Councilmember Dos Santos Tan for the excellent taste in attire.
You too.
Thank you. What a coincidence. Today we're going to do a short informational briefing actually on the groundwater aquifer and siting landfills, a new landfill over the aquifer. And please bear with me, there are about 30 or so slides. Next, please. So our vision for the Board of Water Supply is Kawaiola, water for life. And that drives what we do at the BWS because we're responsible, next slide please, to serve almost 1 million people every day on this island. It's most of the population with safe drinking water. And it takes a lot of effort. We have to produce on average about 145 million gallons of pure drinking water to supply the needs of our community. And it takes a lot of infrastructure and resources to do that across the island. Next, please. We'll talk a little bit now about the request that we received. Next slide. Back in 2022, November 3rd, 2022. This is a letter that we received from the Department of Environmental Services. And I do want to pause here to acknowledge that I have the highest respect for our mayor and the city administration, including the Department of Environmental Services and Dr. Roger Babcock. They do not have an easy job to do. I understand where they're coming from on this matter when it comes to the safety of our water resources that we rely upon for our needs for drinking water and other uses on this island, including affordable housing. I have to just respectfully differ on our position. So back in November 3rd, 2022, we received this letter basically identifying 6 potential sites for a landfill on Oahu. And this is a result of the Landfill Advisory Committee work, the study that was done to support that effort. And our response to that was, next slide, was basically in November 16th, 2022, to disapprove all 6 sites. And the primary reason is their location. All 6 sites are located inland, not over the Cap Rock area that surrounds our island, the coastal areas of our island, and well inland, over areas that are basically the volcanic aquifer that we depend on for our water resources is basically unprotected. Even if there is hundreds of feet of soil, what we've learned firsthand from the experiences of widespread pesticide use by the large plantations that used to exist on this island, pineapple and sugar, that eventually these chemicals will make its way down into the volcanic aquifer and contaminate the groundwater. And that's what we have to do in central Oahu is at many locations have to treat and filter that water to make it safe to use. So we know that basically what you put on the ground will eventually make its way down to the volcanic aquifer below. And it's really driven by when it rains over the ground, that rainwater seeps through the soil. And as it seeps through the soil, it's actually carrying those chemicals further and further down. And over time, it eventually, just basically by gravity, reach our underground aquifers. Next, so in November, we basically disapprove all 6 locations. I want to be clear too, this letter we received from ENV was not a selection of a site yet. He posed 6 sites and he wanted to get our feedback on the 6 sites, which we provided. We really didn't receive much communications. I can't remember if we did get any additional information from ENV after that to this recent year. Next, please. So then, fast forward now to December of 2024, the press conference was held where the site selection was announced, and that site is to the northwest of the Waihewa town area. And on December 17th, based on the information, that site, which happens to actually be what we believe is one of the 6 sites that were submitted back in 2022 to us, with some information. And so evaluating again, and the primary reason is the location. The location above our freshwater resources that can or is being used as a source of drinking water and other potable uses, that I disapprove that site. So that does trigger a 30-day, according to our administrative rules, a kind of a 30-day period to appeal my decision and try to petition for a reconsideration of my decision. That 30-day period, I think, is going to end on January 16th. Next, please. So some key points to remember here is that we are 100% dependent on groundwater aquifer, the underground aquifer, for our source of drinking water for our community on this island. Landfills contain contaminants that can enter groundwater. Landfills, once constructed, will be permanently there. I'm not really aware of landfills that have been dug up and removed, except I think one case was when Hurricane Iniki happened on Kauai. They had a place where they had to temporarily just put all the debris that was created by the hurricane, and they put it initially in Anahola on Kauai. Then later on, they had to move it to a permanent municipal landfill out of Kekaha on the west side. So I think Lahaina has experienced the same thing. The debris generated had to go someplace temporarily until it could be placed permanently in a properly constructed landfill. Preservation and protection of our precious and pure groundwater resources are essential to ensure water security for our future, for generations to come. Next, please. So I talked a little bit earlier about the cap rock, which is the area that we kind of recommend where a landfill could be placed along the coastal areas of this island primarily. And you can see noted here in yellow, this is a cross-section through the island. The light blue is actually the freshwater resources in the volcanic aquifer and the volcanic rock. The cap rock does 2 things. It helps to hold back the fresh water from just flowing out into the ocean, and it allows a large amounts of fresh water to build up mauka of the cap rock areas. It also serves as an area where things like injection wells or landfills could be sited with little impact on freshwater resources that are located primarily more inland from the coastal areas. Next, please. So this map is just a map from the State Water Commission. It just represents the freshwater resources that can be sustained on this island, about 393 million gallons a day. Next, please. This is just some of the preliminary research we've done. EPA has concluded, all landfills eventually leak into the environment. The USGS also has indicated that liners can fail these containment systems. Then the transport of leachate in the environment does potentially pose a serious issue for the environment. Landfill liners, even the best designed systems, will fail at some point unless they are replaced or the waste is removed. And right now, Waimanalo Gulch, the current city landfill located in the Eva area, can generate around 3.6 million gallons of leachate. This is basically rainwater seeping through the landfill itself and picking up contaminants as it moves through the landfill. And it's collected underneath the landfill and then pumped out and disposed of at a wastewater treatment plant. I just want to point out 2023 was a wetter year than this. This, I think, was 2021 or so. And the number was actually, I just saw recently, was as much as 5 million gallons a day. So the amount of rainfall over the landfill directly correlates to the volume of leachate that will be generated, leachate containing contaminants. So you move a landfill from a dry location to a wet location more inland, like in Waihawa. Near Waihawa. When we looked at the rainfall rates comparing Waimanalo Gulch to the proposed site inland, looking at the data for 2019, that was the only year we could find complete data sets on both locations. The average annual rainfall was about double what Waimanalo Gulch, the current site, experiences. So 2 times more the amount of rainfall might, and I'm not going to say for sure, could mean that proportionately you could look at larger volumes of leachate to deal with. Next, please. Landfill leachate and groundwater analysis this is actually data from the Waimanalo Gulch leachate ash. You can see the different analytes or different chemicals or substances being tested for. The values are in parts per billion here, parts per million. Compare that with a monitor well. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of detections or doesn't seem to be a lot of contaminants getting past the liner at this point. But you can compare that also to Board of Water Supply's drinking water wells in Honolulu and Baratania. And notice the vast difference between what's in the leachate and what's in our drinking water. Next, please. This goes on to other things like copper, iron, lead, mercury, sodium, total dissolved solids. Next, please. And just keep on going here. Next. So you can see from these tables that there is quite a different variety of different chemicals being leached in, being picked up in the leachate, which is the water seeping through the landfill. Next slide. I'm sorry. This one actually is looking at different studies done in the U.S., but also different countries. The range of PFAS substances are per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. This is the forever chemicals that folks have been hearing about lately. The EPA just regulated a number of them for drinking water. The nanograms or Ng/L is nanograms per liter or parts per trillion. So there are extremely low levels, but you can see that landfills actually are a source of PFAS contaminants too. This is from the leachate. Next, please. This is another study here, and this is looking at 2 of the PFAS chemicals that are regulated in drinking water. Just last year, the EPA passed regulations regulating PFOA and PFOS, and they set the maximum contaminant level or the maximum amount that could be allowed in the drinking water at 4 parts per trillion. And you can see for those 2 PFAS chemicals, PFOA and PFOS, highlighted in yellow are the various studies of concentrations detected in landfills in the U.S. and in other countries. Next, please. And this is just something I came across just recently. The Department of Health here, Hazard Evaluation and Emergency Response Branch of the State Department of Health, did a study. They did a field study of PFAS in Hawaii. back in 2024. And this is done by Dr. Roger Brewer, who I heard that is just recently retired. He did some great work here. He took samples of soil and water in different locations in wastewater treatment plants, in the effluent, treated effluent, and also in the biosolids. He also did tests of leachate in landfills, and one of those landfills included the Waimanalo Gulch landfill here. And he also did a study of samples and tests looking at results for AFFF, or firefighting foam releases in Hawaii. And there have been two big ones. One is Kahului Airport. They have high PFAS detections there, but also the Navy's Red Hill facility back in November of 2022 released 1,300 gallons of AFFF, or firefighting foam concentrate that's used to make the foam into the environment. But this is focusing on landfills, and you can see here the different types of PFAS chemicals and the values that were the results of the tests that he developed. Highlighted in yellow is like the total for them. So 64,664 for one sample, for another 40,618, and for the ash leachate from the ash itself, a little lower, 12,970 parts per trillion. Next, please. So BWS no pass zone. Next. So this slide basically shows in light blue the Caprock area around the island. It's like a lei around the island of Oahu. And this area is about 137 square miles. Next slide. This is actually the no pass map shown in light blue here. So what we're suggesting here is consider landfills located in the light blue area, in the coastal areas where there is a caprock, or there's not high quality freshwater aquifers that can or is being used as a source for drinking water for our community. But if you go inland into the gray area, that's basically unprotected volcanic aquifer areas, water and volcanic aquifers that can be or is being used for sources of water for our community. And we have our rules and regulations. They were developed over 40 years ago. So, you know, I started with the Board of Water Supply actually in 1980. I just want to say I didn't realize that the leadership of the Board of Water Supply, the manager chief engineer, which was Kazu Hayashida at the time, and also the Water Board, took this kind of this proactive step to protect our water resources for our community. They really had a lot of foresight. So I just want to say mahalo to them. Kazu's passed on already. Next, please. So this map just shows the proposed location. So it's well inland from the caprock. There's no doubt there's no caprock in this area where the proposed site is. It is an area right above a aquifer that is and can be used as a source of drinking water. In fact, at the site itself, near that site, Dole Plantations drilled a well, I think it was back in the 1970s, and that well was used, I don't know if it was used for drinking, but it was used for agriculture. And it encountered the water table at 169 or so feet above sea level, the top of the aquifer. And just downhill of there, we have our Wailu and Haleiwa wells that supply the North Shore communities, all the way out from Mokuleia, all the way out to Kawailoa. Next, please. This map is actually from the Groundwater Atlas of the United States, segment 13, developed by the United States Geological Survey, and this was revised in 1999. So these numbers represent the top of the aquifer above sea level. So that's what we call the water table. The arrows, the blue arrows, depict what they feel is the direction of groundwater flow. From going usually from Mauka to Makai, from the mountains toward the ocean, toward the coastal areas. You can see the Schofield area, which is where Waihawa is, and we have our Waihawa wells there. The water levels in this one, this map shows a number of 275 feet above sea level. For some reason, around the Waihawa area, both on the Pearl Harbor side of Waihawa and also the North Shore side, the Haleiwa side, there's something underground that's causing the groundwater to be held back, somewhat like an underground dam. But it allows what the USGS and a lot of geologists believe, it allows water to spill over above that underground feature in the rock and spill over to feed Pearl Harbor and also spill over to feed the North Shore area. So that's why you see blue arrows that actually flow toward north central Oahu from Schofield to Waihawa area and also toward Pearl Harbor. You'll also notice that water flows from higher elevations to lower elevations. It's basically following the gravity. So water is high at the center part of the island, and it's spilling out and flowing toward the North Shore and Pearl Harbor. But you can see that there's a number there, 165. So right around that line where the blue number 165 is kind of close to where I think the proposed site is. But just beyond that, it drops down to like our Wailua wells. The water level is about 10.5 feet above sea level. So we know that water is spilling over and helping to feed the North Shore area. Next, please. So this is just a definition of the no pass zone guidelines that we have. And the pass zone, which is the coastal area over the caprock, represents areas overlain by thick caprock, basically unconsolidated and consolidated sediments, corals, and weathered volcanic rock. So erosional material with sea level changes on this island, marine sediments and deposits that helps to, is less permeable, and it helps to protect the volcanic aquifer below. But as you move Mauka beyond this line between the pass and no pass zone, then you get into areas where the aquifer, the volcanic aquifer, is less protective. And anything that leaks out could eventually get into the groundwater. And this was actually developed by our hydrology geology branch back in the 70s and 80s. Next, please. This is just our administrative rules, section 3-301. It basically specifies that all plans proposed for the following waste disposal facilities must have the written approval of the manager. And it provides examples there, a list, including number 3, sanitary landfills. And then it mentions the no pass zones. I just want to make a footnote too to you in the spirit of total transparency with the council, and I said this to the legislature too. Back in 1989, between the Department of Health and the Board of Water Supply, the then manager, Mr. Hayashida, entered into some kind of agreement to delegate some authority from the Board of Water Supply to the Department of Health. He did that, but my responsibility when I was hired as manager, now almost 13 years ago, was to uphold the rules, the charter, and the rules and regulations of the Board of Water Supply. Section 3-301 is still applicable. It was never repealed even after that agreement. So I would say that it still holds, and I must implement the regulations. And that is to protect our water resources. Next, please. So this items 3 and 4 basically tells about the procedures that we have to go through, that an applicant would have to go through to propose a waste disposal facilities. Next, please. So again, key points of concern. Oahu is 100% dependent on its groundwater aquifer for drinking water. Landfills contain contaminants that can enter the groundwater if it leaks out of the landfill past its containment systems. Landfills, once constructed, are permanent features. They don't go away. They're there for basically forever. Preservation and protection of our precious and pure groundwater resources are essential to ensure water security for our future, for generations to come. the decisions we make today have an impact well into the future. And I saw from the unfortunate experience with the Navy's Red Hill fuel tanks, and I was thinking about this, that the decisions to actually, by the military, by the Navy, to construct huge underground fuel storage tanks right above our drinking water aquifer there in the Halava area under Red Hill, that ridge, that was made over 80 years ago. I think at the time they knew that there was groundwater there because they actually developed their own drinking water sources tapping that same underground aquifer. But they made that decision to construct that fuel facility right above that water resource. That was 80 years ago. I kind of look at this right now, where we stand today on this discussion, is that we're kind of at that point that Red Hill was 80 plus years ago, to consider where do you put fuel storage on Oahu to support the military, to fight World War II, the war in the Pacific. So we need to think carefully, at least in my perspective, about the decisions we make today and what legacy we leave for future generations. Because I won't even be around when it happens. But dealing with our Opala is a big problem. It is a community-wide problem, not only the responsibility of the mayor and E&V. You know, I generate Opala. How we manage our waste, it's going to be very important that we do it in a fashion that we don't compromise our drinking water resources. Our underground resources in these volcanic aquifers are precious. They're a gift from Keakua. They're there because that allows us to have people living on this island. And without these clean resources, we cannot live on this island. Next slide, please. And from my perspective, decisions to actually prevent future contamination are better than having to react to it. Because what comes out of the leachate in landfills, we don't know exactly what it might contain. And in the future, what the Environmental Protection Agency might regulate us for. And then can we even treat it to remove it from the contaminated groundwater? So I leave you with that thought. Ola ikabai, water is life. Thank you.
Mahalo, Manager and Chief Engineer Lau, for the presentation and your commitment to our drinking water. With the committee's indulgence, before we do questions, I know we have Managing Director here and also Director Babcock, and so understanding the concerns raised today, I think largely underpin the resolution we're going to be discussing later. I did want to offer you an opportunity to weigh in as well. And then, of course, the committee may have questions for, of course, Chief Engineer Lau or Managing Director or Director Babcock, if you would entertain them. Please. Yeah. So yeah, if you had any comments or things you wanted to share with the committee, and feel free to bring up Director Babcock after as well.
Thank you. Committee Chair, I'm not sure whether you want us to offer comments now or later when the resolution is introduced.
Okay, if you're here purely for the resolution, then we can hold off on that if you don't have anything on the info briefing.
Yeah, we have comments and we're happy to offer them. Just you let us know in what context you want us to do that.
Okay, we can wait to the resolution then. So appreciate that. And then I guess at this point, did the committee have any questions for Manager Lau? I did have a few, but I wanted to offer Councilmember Dos Santos down.
Thank you. And again, very nice shirt. I appreciate your presentation and just explaining the importance of the cap rock. I note that between the legislature's mandate to us about siting, the various federal requirements about airports and other things, if you put everything together, there really isn't a very good place for a landfill anywhere on the island. And so I just want to understand how we put all that together and can figure out, where an appropriate place is. And I don't know if you have any direction or recommendation for us in that regard. or if BWS, among the many potential sites, has an idea or an inkling of where it might be appropriate.
Yeah, definitely for us, it's clearly in the pass area, which is along the coastal areas over the Caprock and not further inland. Especially in this area in Waihawa, it's a high rainfall area. And then water, will flow by gravity in the move toward the coastal areas and contaminate those wells eventually. I think we're facing a challenge, I want to be clear too. I'm not an expert in solid waste, and that's not my forte. I've always been in drinking water, in water resources. But the issue is, I think that is facing us. This is both a problem and an opportunity. By a problem, it tells me that clearly we know that our water resources, which are finite, our freshwater resources, they're all located more inland, above the Caprock area. But also we have to deal with waste. This landfill, and I'm not sure how long they are going to be in service until they get filled up. I remember when I first started with the city, worked for Public Works, I was doing some survey work at Kapa'a landfill over on the Kapa'a side, Windward side. And then Waimanalo Gulch got built. And now this proposed landfill for the next, maybe Roger can answer that, 30 years, say 30 years. But then what happens beyond that? And if the locations are only now over our water resources, do we continue to build landfills over our water resources? So I say it's, and it's just probably easier said from my part because I'm not responsible for it with like Roger and the mayor and the MD. But we have to maybe figure out a more sustainable way because we need the water resources to survive, and yet we're generating waste. How do we handle that waste in a way that we can reduce the need for landfills and place them in locations that are not endangering our water resources? But do we continue to site future landfills over our water resources? Right now, it looks like the only possible sites are going to be over our water resources. Is that a wise thing to do? But I think all of this presents an opportunity for this important conversation to occur. How do we live on this island in this canoe in a way that can be sustained for 7 generations to come and beyond? How do we deal with climate change and what we're seeing happen in California, that happened in Lahaina in 2023? I don't know the answers, but I think we need to have that important conversation. And this is, and like I say, maybe the opportunity to have that conversation. Thank you.
Mahalo. Chair Waters.
Thank you. Thank you, Manager Lau. On your November 3rd, or the letter you received on November 3rd identified 6 initial sites, of which one of them was the Dole site. For background, could you also identify what the other 5 sites were, if you can?
Hold on. I'll have to find that letter.
Yeah.
So this is from the E&B letter of November 3rd, 2022. They identified, they provided maps, Oahu landfill siting, location area, site 2, which is site 1, which is, it's hard to tell from this map. Looks like for closer to the North Shore. And I actually defer to Roger to correct me if I'm wrong. Area 3, sites 2 and 3, which is close to where I think the present site is being provided. One of those might be Area 2 of Site 2, north of Waihawa. The other locations looks like along Kunia Road, on more the leeward side. And then also Area 7, which is in the Kunia area also.
Okay. Is the current Waimanalo Gulch site over Cap Rock?
Part of it is, from what I understand, part of it is, I think the lower portion, and some of it extends above the Caprock into over an aquifer. That's actually a brackish water aquifer.
Okay. And you spent a lot of time talking about leachate. What do we currently do with leachate?
This is probably better answered by ENV, but I'll do my best, so correct me, Roger, if I'm wrong. I believe it's taken to the Honolulu wastewater treatment plant and disposed of at the wastewater treatment plant.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Mahalo, Chair. Councilor Kia, I know.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here today. And as always, I know that you're looking after the interests not only of your agency, but also for the public safety and welfare of our community. In looking at the maps where you lay out the groundwater bodies in Cap Rock, you know, it shows 23% of the island, or 137 miles, that are covered by Cap Rock. And if you look at the two maps that you have presented, those areas are in coastal areas. Of course, there's that Pearl Harbor area. There's the Waianae Coast, Leeward Coast, areas in my district, all residential or in coastal areas, including in East Honolulu. And, you know, we all face a conundrum, right? Because there's impact to our coastal areas, impact to our coral reefs, potentially, right? Residential communities. And so I guess I'm just wondering, as you collaborate with the administration, was there any thought within this 137 square miles or 23% of the rest of the island that you might deem appropriate?
Actually, they didn't reach out to us for any feedback on some of those sites along the coastal
okay,
areas.
but okay, independently of that, because we're all we're all at a pivotal point where we're trying to identify off the top of your head, and looking at it 23%. Have you and your staff just independently looked and thought to yourselves, this might be an appropriate site?
We didn't actually do that exercise, Council Member.
And the reason
yeah.
I'm asking is because even if you did one, you might come to the conclusion that they are not suitable as well, right?
Well, actually, from my perspective, and somebody in the community asked me that question, I thought seriously looking at the military lands in that coastal areas that are away from residential development, hospitals, that the military lands might be suitable. And I think the administration did pursue a site in the Pearl Harbor area.
Yeah. And I also see you have Mokapu Peninsula here.
Oh, yeah, that actually is in the Caprock area, where the Marine Corps base is located.
Yeah, it isn't.
No, it is, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. And so it's in that 23% that we're talking about.
Right, the 137 square miles.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, I guess I'm just saying, I know everybody has their hats to wear, but this is, you said that this is an opportunity for us, but it's also an opportunity for you. And I know you have your mission, but it just, if you have any thoughts, because we would welcome it.
You know, my thoughts, and I want to be careful, my thoughts that right now, just citing landfills all over the island, and I'm going to caveat this very carefully because I'm not a solid waste expert. But from my perspective, it doesn't seem to be sustainable.
I agree for both, for the entire.
Somehow we need to reduce our, reuse, recycle, reduce our waste stream because, but you know, we are going to need something, but let's try to reduce it as much as possible.
I concur. I just want to point out that we are in a no-win situation, whether it be with your no-pass zone demarcation or with the 23%, because the 23% in my district, they're almost all residential, conservation district, and impact our coastal lands. And so, you know, I just think that we all need to work together and look for longer-term sustainable solutions to waste management. I agree, but I think we need to be realistic by looking in the map, and that to think that we're going to have to find a spot in the 23% is probably not realistic.
I think I don't know the answer to your
I'm just
question.
making my own comment.
I know.
That's what I'm
I'm actually, I don't disagree with you, Councilmember. I think that is part of the important questions that we have to ask ourselves. And right now, this is actually driving us to ask those questions as a community. And we need to figure out what are the answers and way forward.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your service.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Mahalo, any other questions? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and go to testimony. I know we have another committee at 2:30, I believe. Yeah, okay. So mahalo, we just asked if you could still remain here, Manager Lau.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Mahalo again for your presentation. We'll go to first in-person testimony. I don't believe we have anyone registered for the informational briefing. Anyone wanting to testify can step forward. Seeing none, we'll go to online. I also believe we don't have any registered online testifiers for the informational briefing. Anyone wanting to testify on the informational briefing, we will be doing the resolution. After this, can use the raise hand feature. I'll just double check with Madam Clerk. Do we have any testifiers online?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, mahalo. We'll go ahead and close discussion and open it up to, or close testimony rather, and then open it up to any other discussion. Seeing none, I'll just say mahalo again for the presentation and again, all the work that you're doing and acknowledging the tough situation at hand and the work that Director Babcock and the administration has ahead of them, because I agree it is a challenging situation, and so appreciate the commitment to our community. We'll go now back to our resolution 25-3. This is agenda item number 2, resolution 25-3, reaffirming the city policy as set forth in resolution 3-09FD1 adopted on April 16th, 2023. The municipal solid waste landfill should not be located in proximity to any of the city's underground drinking water resources. Both Committee Vice Chair Cordero and I introduced this resolution. I welcome any thoughts that you may have at this time, but just want to acknowledge that really this is about protecting our drinking water, not identifying the final location of the landfill. I think Councilor Kiana raised a lot of really important questions for all of us to discuss as a council, as a city, as a community, and I know that those conversations will continue to go forward. I know we have Managing Director here along with Director Babcock, so I'd go ahead and invite you up at this point if you wanted to provide any comment.
Committee Chair, Vice Chair, and Council members, Mike Formby, Managing Director. So thank you for this opportunity to offer comments. I'll just say that the administration understands the policy preference of Council all the way back to 2003. We understand the reason that this resolution was endorsed. We sat side by side with the Board of Water Supply at the legislature last week and briefed on this very topic, same PowerPoint presentation from the Board of Water Supply. And we told the legislature the same thing, that if you look at the 4-page document that we distributed to all members of the legislature, to City Council, you'll see the long, complex history of trying to site a landfill on this island. Very difficult. A lot of politics, a lot of communities that are not happy about the alternatives. And we set forth a path based upon the law as to what we would do, because we had to act with purpose and intentionality. In other words, we knew that if we went to the legislature and asked them to amend Act 73, before we tried in good faith, exercising our best engineering practices, which Dr. Babcock can speak intimately to. If we went to them before we tried to say that we could safely put one over the aquifer, they would rebuff us and say, you haven't exhausted all your remedies. So we chose the first path over the aquifer to do it safely. And what we expected in return was a meaningful discussion about what it would take to make it safe. Dr. Babcock and ENB proposed 2 membrane barriers, and there's actually 2. There's a clay and there is a plastic type. 2, which is what's used for toxic materials on the mainland. But nobody came back and said, well, could you do a 3rd one? Or could you do a 4th one? What could you do to make it safe over an aquifer? Instead, we had a categorical rejection when we didn't even make a site recommendation to Board of Water Supply. What happened back in 2022 was the advisory committee was looking at a number of locations. Chief Engineer Lau came and testified. They realized we should look other places first before we recommend one of these 6, and they told us to look at federal lands, and we did. We spent better part of a year and a half, the mayor and I, meeting with the military leadership, and we went to the top. We met with Admiral Aguilino. He had a room, and there must have been 45 stars in that room from all the services, where we said, we have a problem. You have federal lands that are outside the aquifer. Perhaps we can use your federal lands. And they spent the better part of a year looking at operational restrictions to come back and say, we apologize, we can't make them available. And to be honest with you, the one that was probably most likely to be used, there's actually 2. One was Waipio Peninsula, where we have a soccer complex. Now, we would have had to remove the soccer complex, site it somewhere else before we could actually put a landfill there. And that would have been over $100 million for that alone. And we got tons of mail from soccer clubs, soccer moms, soccer kids saying, please don't do that to our soccer complex. That's on top of the military looking at the feasibility of siting it there. The second one, there is a second one, it's Lualua Lei on the Waianae coast. And Mayor committed up front that because of social justice and operational impacts, I think if any of you have driven, and I know you have because you've gone to community meetings on the Waianae coast, if you've driven on the Waianae coast after 1 p.m. on any day, it is gridlock, one way in, one way out. And to send all of our trucks down that highway to dump waste in the middle of that coast, unacceptable. So the mayor wrote that off in the beginning, said we're not going back to the Waianae coast. We've been there, done that. And I think everybody respects that. We got no pushback on that at the legislature. No questions about that at all. Everybody respects that. Which leaves us with a situation that if we can't go over the aquifer, then the state needs to amend Act 73. Understanding that if you amend Act 73, you're going to be putting a landfill closer to residential communities, hospitals, all of those places where people aggregate and live their lives 24 hours a day. And that's the reality. And then if the legislature refuses to amend Act 73, the 3rd prong of our approach was to go back to the Land Use Commission on Waimanalo Gulch, and that is kicking the can down the road. Because you're going back to that community who has said for a long time, you should have already been planning to be out of here, and now you're saying, we're actually gonna extend that. We may do a district boundary amendment to even give us more time at Waimanalo Gulch. There's no good solution. And what we wanted was for us as a city to approach it just like we approach One Water. We come up here and we talk about One Water. Board of Water Supply, working with DFM, working with ENV, stormwater, wastewater, water. That didn't happen. And I think it's unfortunate. And I don't think anybody should refer to our attempts to put a safe landfill over the aquifer as Red Hill 2. That is disingenuous. It's inflammatory. And that's what it's been referred to as Red Hill 2. There is no comparison between fuel over the aquifer at the depth of the aquifer there with no containment layers. There's no comparison between Red Hill and what this administration has proposed north of Wahiawa. No comparison. And it's a slight on the discussion when you talk about it that way. So I appreciate the questions that came from Councilmember Kiaina. Spot on. We're all in this together. We're looking for a solution. We're hopeful that the state, understanding the predicament that we're in, that they'll work with us on giving us more options that we can talk about, which would be those options that open up when Act 73 is amended. But those are going to be tough discussions too. And then the last one, if we get shut down on that, we will go back to the Land Use Commission. We need to do it as quickly as possible. We met with Dole this morning. We had a very good discussion with Dole in my office. They understand what we're trying to do. They offered some other properties to us over the aquifer. So we want to have this discussion. I'll let Roger Babcock do the technical engineering process if you have questions for him. But I just listening to you all, I think I understand that you all understand the complexity here. We understand clean water. We understand water is life. We get all of that. But this island has a very tough problem that has been kicked down the road for many, many years. And I don't think any of us are the type of people that kick things down the road. We need to solve this. So with that, I'll let Dr. Babcock offer comments. Thank you.
First, we'll have questions of Managing Director if you'd like to be available for questions.
Absolutely, I'll stay here.
Mahalo. Because I totally agree. I think collaboration is, we'll ask them now as a committee. Because I think collaboration, you're right, is important and also most effective when we don't have disparaging comments. And so I appreciate the advocacy the Board of Water Supply has been doing in their interviews and with the community. And I know so many in our community that are so extremely grateful for the position that they took. And so I know that the statements that have been made are welcome by many across this island and across the state.
Agree.
And again, so just kind of along those lines, when we talk about collaboration, because I know you mentioned it's unfortunate we didn't have this more thorough discussion. So why was it the day of the announcement that the landowner, the area council member, all stakeholders found out about the location?
Yeah, so that was actually a tactical decision on our part. We knew, I'll just step back a little bit. We were also talking to some of the private landowners of potential Act 73 sites in the past. So we went and met with them and asked them, would you be willing to sell your land to us if we absolutely can't place it on the aquifer? And there are immediate reactions when you identify land. And what we didn't want to do was to identify land up front that would give people time to strategize against us and put up barriers to the discussion before we had it. And we explained that to Dole this morning. And I'm confident that based on that discussion, they fully understood what we did. And now we're talking to them about what other parcels might you have and where are those parcels. But you simply don't show your hand in this kind of environment where it is extremely charged and political as to where you're going to put that landfill. So we chose to wait until we made the PowerPoint presentation in the mayor's office and revealed where it would be. And we apologized to Dole, and I'll apologize to you because that's your district, and I'll apologize to anybody at any of our town halls that we didn't do that in advance, but we didn't do it because we simply didn't want to have forces already moving against us before we said this is what we're doing it and why.
Yeah, and actually I 100% understand the political implications from that. And it's a tough decision. And I know I'm younger, I'm a millennial, maybe I'm naive in how we engage in conversations, but even accepting that, just wanted to flag that for the administration. Because if we're talking about collaboration and being disappointed in a lack of collaboration, I think it has to go both ways.
I agree.
Yeah,
I'll take that. That was a decision that we made to do that. So I appreciate that comment, and I'll reflect on that.
Okay. Mahalo. I'll open it up to the committee if there's any questions for Managing Director. I know we're going to have Director Babcock also.
Chair.
Councilmember Kiaina.
And I was going to wait for discussion as well, but given the fact that the Managing Director brought up Act 73, since we are talking about the resolution in front of us, since this resolution was adopted in 2003, and I know we cited the Red Hill leak in 2021, because Act 73 is something we have to take into account for a future landfill. I'm just assuming my question to you would be, you would agree that perhaps in the whereas clauses, we should incorporate that because indeed those are the parameters that we're under. No pass zone, Act 73, no land left. So we all have to face the reality of the hard decisions that we have to make. Because in looking at that 23% of land left, again, it's on coastal lands, it's in residential communities, it's on military bases. It's going to be very difficult. So I just wanted, Chair, I just would be recommending, I do support the reaffirmation, but then you would agree that we, Managing Director, we should probably incorporate Act 73 in the whereas clauses?
Yeah, Councilmember Kiana, I was thinking about that while I was sitting here, and I appreciate that. I think it would reflect that the council appreciates the seriousness of Act 73 and how it constrains us in our decision-making. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. If you wanted to think on proposed language or throw it out at this point or later when we come back to discussion, we can discuss it as a committee. Were there other questions, Chair Waters, for Managing Director?
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your testimony today. And I totally agree that it's a very, very difficult problem. One of the things that we haven't talked about today, and I brought it up with Director Babcock in the past, is the other really significant issue is cost of siting the new landfill, wherever it is. We need, if it's not at the current site, we have to acquire the land, it seems. Because if I'm correct, there's no city parcels that the city owns that would be appropriate for a new landfill, right?
To my knowledge, and I'll let Dr. Babcock correct me, that's correct.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So we have to acquire the land. I'm sure you're in negotiations with Dole, but you know, we talked about an earlier estimate of $750 million. You know, honestly, it's a tough budget year, and we're probably going to have to spread that over a bunch of years, but you know, how do we solve that problem? And I really don't expect an answer. That's more of a question, but gee whiz, how do we come up with that kind of money? It's tough. So we got to work together to figure this out. But thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Council Chair. If I can just comment on that, I really appreciate that comment. And it's interesting that when we came into office in 2021, we tended to talk about things that happened by department. And now we talk about it cumulative, citywide because of cost of living concerns. And so Board of Water Supply will raise water fees to cover the $10.1 billion secondary treatment consent decree program. We're looking at raising sewer fees. You've got the landfill. I mean, these things impact everybody in pieces, but from their perspective, when you add up what they have to pay a month, it's a cost of living problem. And you're very right about that, and we're very concerned about that. So thank you for that.
Councilman Dos Santos, down.
Thank you, and thank you, Managing Director. I'd actually like to build on Chair Waters' question because he says, you know, he didn't expect an answer now, but do you have some inkling as to how we're going to pay for the $750 million new landfill?
So Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, I'll invite Roger Babcock to come up and share with you what calculations they've done and how their bonding program works.
Good afternoon, Chair and council members. Roger Babcock, Department of Environmental Services. Chair Waters and Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, you know, we'll have to get back to you. I'm not sure where the $750 million number came from. Maybe there was a miscommunication, but as far as I know, we've never said it would cost that much. At one point, there was $200 million budgeted, but that really depended, that was kind of a big number, a big placeholder with real uncertainty about what the land would cost. So I think that we really don't have a better number than 200 million at this time, but it is probably less than that. So I think that's what I can say at this point. With respect to financing, the solid waste operations of environmental services falls under the general fund of the city. So it would be general obligation bonds to fund any sort of capital project associated with refuse service, as opposed to wastewater services, which are special funded through the sewer fund, where we do our own bond issuances for tax-free muni bonds associated with sewer operations and construction.
Mahalo, Councilmember Toba. And I'll just note, we have talked to Parks Committee and they'll be meeting at 3 p.m.
Quick.
Appreciate their accommodation.
Yeah, thank you, Managing Director and Director, for really having a big task and cleaning up the mistakes from the past. And we cannot look at the past, we gotta look at the future. So technology-wise, is there possibility of like satellites, knowing that we only have a few areas on the island that we can, so that we kind of separate or, use the productive areas to do waste? I mean, we heard the doom and gloom of, there's not much places, and then we all got to decide on, coming up with real solutions for a problem that, really, we all got to take responsibility of. We like buying stuff. We like collecting. We like going to the rubbish dumps. It's a weekly thing that I go by and I see lines of people with trash. So do we have technology coming that could possibly, like, I know we're burning, I know we're using possible ash down the line to use for construction, but what is the possibility of doing satellites?
Yeah, thanks, Council Member. So I think there's a couple parts to the question. The general part about how do we reduce our waste stream, recycle most or everything as much as possible, and that's definitely part of all of our planning, our integrated solid waste management plan, our ash recycling project that is in the permitting process right now. The other part, and so we will continue those efforts, and I'll have to say more about that later. But with respect to satellites, I think you mean you're talking about having maybe smaller landfills in different locations, and it's an interesting idea. It is it's very challenging to site one landfill, so I think that does kind of make it exponentially more difficult. But anything is theoretically possible. There are some smaller sites available, which could be different landfills and potentially in different communities. So that's it's an interesting idea. It's something that we could look into if necessary.
Mahalo. We'll go ahead and continue with testimony if we may, because, the question for Director Babcock, I was bringing Chief Engineer up, Ernie Lauda. Yeah, please go ahead, Chair.
Thank you so much. So, Director Babcock, I'm a little scared when we talk about actual figures, because I don't want to create an expectation early that it's going to only cost $200 million, and then have to come back and say, wait, just like the rail was $5 billion, now it's $13 billion, and everybody gets upset. So we should be very, very cautious when we throw out those types of numbers. But, land acquisition is going to be a fee. You got to get in there, cut new roads, right? I don't know if you have to dig a huge ditch like the Waimanalo Gulch, right? Then you just design. We know how much all of those other projects that the city undertakes from DDC, and everybody's eyes just open when we find out how much the planning and design costs. So for a project like this, I'm estimating that the planning and design is going to be $200 million. Of course, I'm no engineer, but just based on the experience that we've had over smaller projects, right, in the city, that it's going to be more than that. Labor costs, we got to pay prevailing wages, right? So, I don't want to create this expectation that it's within the council that it's going to be 200 million, because that seems low to me. But if you can pull it off for $200 million, you're going to be the hero. But I'm just thinking, that's a tough number. But anyway, no need to comment. The $750 million that I got was through one of these hearings, and I'm happy to look up our video. But we didn't come down with one number. It was estimated about that much. But if you want to respond, feel free, but I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Waters. We'll be happy to work on that number and get back to folks once we are able to have a better idea. It's important to identify the site, and then we can really start that process.
Malo, I know we also have Manager Chief Engineer Ernie Lau here to provide some testimony as well. Mahalo, Director Babcock, appreciate it. Oh, and we'd also welcome Councilmember Tupola to the chamber as well. Mahalo.
Thank you, Chair. We stand in support of this resolution. I understand it's going to be amended, so we'll look for the CD1 when it comes out. But we stand in support of it. It's consistent with our mission under the charter, our responsibilities under the charter, and also our mandate under the Constitution. So we stand in support of the resolution. Thank you.
Malo, did we have any questions for Chief Engineer? I was just going to ask if you could expand on when you say your mandate under the Constitution, what is that mandate? Or just remind us, I should say.
So the Hawaii State Constitution guarantees that all public natural resources are held in trust for the benefit of the people of Hawaii, and directs the state and by extension the Board of Water Supply to protect, control, and regulate the use of Hawaii's water resources for the benefits of its people. That's Article 11, Sections 1 and 7.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mahalo. We'll go to in-person testimony now. Anyone wishing to testify in person can come forward. I believe we lost one of the registered testifiers, Jun Shin. Not seeing him today and see no one else. We'll go to remote testimony. We have first Michael Yalbert and then Lisa Kurita. Michael, if you want to unmute and proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, my name is Michael Jobert. I'm an Avid Beach resident. I understand ENV is a very difficult job, and I don't want to seem like I'm attacking them or anything, but I do think it's important to consider the history of waste management on Oahu and things that have happened in the past. In 2011, it's my understanding that the Waimanalo Gulch sanitary landfill stormwater controls failed, and that released toxic leachate and medical waste into the ocean. The EPA fined landfill operators millions of dollars for violating the Clean Water Act. And, although I think this was a contractor, I think all contractors need to be held responsible by ENV. So one more example I saw was March 2006 when 48 million gallons of raw sewage were dumped into the Alawai Canal, forcing beach closures and endangering public safety. So, again, I'm not trying to attack DNV, but it does show that these systems do fail sometimes, especially due to extreme weather, human error, operational breakdowns. And so I think it's important to consider that hey, you can guarantee, we're going quadruple liner here, but over time, giving a long enough time horizon, everything fails. One more thing I want to mention too is response to what Mr. Formby said about YPO. I understand you got a lot of letters about people who love soccer. I love soccer. My dad played semi-pro in France. I grew up playing it. I love it. I watch it every day. But when we're considering, poisoning our water system or playing soccer, which I think citing a soccer field is a lot easier than citing a landfill on the island. That doesn't seem like a very good reason. I know you always talk about operational reasons for the military, but what could that be? What operational reason? Because they have, it's obviously not top secret area or anything. We have people playing soccer there all the time. So I'd love for you to expand on that if you can. What are the operational reasons for why YPO was so disqualified? And, again, we're talking about freshwater versus playing soccer. I think that's one seems more important than the other in my mind. But again, yeah, thank you.
Mahalo, Michael. See no questions for the testifier. We'll go to Lisa Correa if she's logged on.
Chair, she's not logged on.
Okay, and then I see Raquel Achu. And then anyone else wishing to testify can use the raise hand feature. Ms. Achu, please proceed when you're ready.
Hello, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
We can.
Mahalo. Raquel Achu, North Shore. I just want to start off by saying that everyone in that room, administration, council, Board of Water Supply, have extreme respect and appreciation and very much feel for the position that we are all in at this point. It's frustrating for me and my community because we believe that, this issue should have been discussed administrations ago and plans should have been made and put into place. And I'm not sure that we've exhausted all of the alternatives. What are other states or countries doing? None of us are going to be around when this proves to be detrimental. My kids, my grandkids, our future is going to have to deal with this. And that's what we should be worried about, making sure we can protect and provide for them and not have to deal with things like Red Hill. And I know Red Hill is a sore topic, but it would be irresponsible, with all due respect, to not reflect on that, because that's what the common person in the community is thinking about. That's the threat and the scare that we have within us. I do believe there's potentially other alternatives. The problem is not so much the rubbish and where we're going to put it, but we haven't put in really strong legislature to support the actual reduce, reuse, recycle, and forcing our residents to be able to do that so that we have less waste to worry about. So I look forward to continuing this conversation. I look forward to the many opportunities within our communities to help progress us to get to a compromise, I guess is the word. Mahalo.
Mahalo for that. See no questions for the testifier. Thank you again for your testimony. Anyone else wishing to testify can use the raise hand feature or go ahead and unmute. I'll just check with Madam Clerk. Do we have anyone else online wishing to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. Mahalo. So we'll go ahead and close testimony and then go back into discussion before we end committee for today. Any discussion from the committee? Councilor Ricky, I know.
I know OCS is drafting it. I support the passage, but hopefully I could make, I don't want to hold you guys up. Can I make an amendment when it goes to the full council?
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, I'd be happy to look at a proposed amendment at any point, but my preference would be at least to move forward with the result today.
Yes.
But of course, I would have to defer to our colleagues. I mean, and I can't speak for the co-introducer, but I think for purposes of this understanding conversations that we've had with folks at the state and at the federal level and also in the community, just providing clarity on where the council stands in terms of the aquifer, understanding, we're not going to get budget until March, and so that would be another opportunity, of course, the PIM symbol, and so just having clarity early on that in terms of the aquifer question and Board of Water Supply's legal authority to reject or speak on this matter, wanted to just provide clarity on that. So that was kind of our hope, but open to continued conversation.
Okay, so yes, I have no problem with it moving out as is, and I apologize that I didn't have the appropriate language. Do I have a language walking in the room right now?
Please, Chair Waters. We're in discussion.
Thank you. So our last full council, I think, was 13 hours. So to the extent that we can take care of these kinds of amendments in committee, I strongly suggest that. At the minimum, our full council meetings are 7 hours. So if we can do it today, that'd be the best. And I hope you got good news.
Yes, I do have good
Wonderful.
news,
Thank
and I apologize. I glanced at the resolution and I forgot about Act 73 until we were talking about it today. I'd like to propose a verbal amendment.
Please go ahead and describe.
Okay,
Yeah.
It would be, whereas in 2020, the Hawaii State Legislature passed Act 73, which prohibits locating a waste disposal facility in a conservation district, and within 1/2 mile of residences, schools, and hospitals, semicolon, thereby limiting the areas on Oahu in which a landfill could be sited, semicolon, and.
Okay. So it's acknowledging the legal challenge.
It's just in the, because the lessons that we learned from Red Hill were critically important. The rest of the resolution is reaffirming what happened in 2003, which Councilmember Gabbard had introduced. And I just thought, given that Act 73 is actually a pivotal factor in a future landfill site, in that it impedes our ability unless it is modified, that as we are collectively trying to determine a site, I think we should note that, because again, we're affirming what we said in 2003. We are acknowledging what happened at Red Hill, and I think it is important for us to acknowledge that Act 73 exists. So it's not like we could do whatever we want. There are hurdles that we have to go through to be able to find a suitable site.
Okay.
That's the reason for the inclusion of this.
I appreciate that. Any further discussion?
Chair doesn't need a second of the motion.
It would need a second.
Okay, second.
Okay. So the motion is on the table. I'll check with our attorneys. Okay. Did we have a second from anyone else on the committee? It was just suggested that we may do a motion from a committee member and then a second from a committee member.
Okay. Chair, if there's no objection, I'd like to make Councilmember Kiana's motion as if it were my own,
Okay.
for the sake of procedure.
Yeah, and just for clarity for everyone here, could you,
Okay.
I see you have the paper, so that's the only reason I asked.
It's to add, it says, whereas, to add a new whereas clause, it says, whereas in 2020, the Hawaii State Legislature passed Act 73, which prohibits locating a waste disposal facility in a conservation district and within 1/2 mile of residences, schools, and hospitals, semicolon, thereby limiting the areas on Oahu in which a landfill could be sited, semicolon, and.
Okay. And there was a second from Vice Chair Cordero. Any discussion? I know we're coming up on 2:40 and we want to get parks on the ready to go. So there's a motion on the table. So Chair is going to recommend that resolution 25-3 be amended to a CD1 as discussed. Okay, I got the thumbs up from OCS. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. The resolution is amended to a CD1. And the chair is then going to recommend that resolution 25-3 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations on that? Hearing none, so ordered. So mahalo members, that brings us to the conclusion of the hearing today. I want to say thank you again to Board of Water Supply, Chief Engineer Lau, Managing Director, Director Babcock, and everyone else in the administration and the community that came out today. Meeting is adjourned.